always do. Our handout for today is not very long, it is quite short, but the content of the training is quite a lot, and we need you to follow us. The topic for today, please write it down, is business ethics and values. We are looking at the topic which we are calling business ethics and values. So in this topic, we are going to be looking at what business ethics are, and we are also going to be looking at what your values are, or what values are necessary for us to operate successfully in business. By the end of this training, these are the following outcomes. We expect that the following is going to be achieved by the end of this training today. Firstly, we expect that we will give an opportunity to you, the learners, to reflect on your values and also on your belief systems. And you'll be able to see how they influence your behavior. So you'll be able to reflect on your values and your belief systems. The second outcome, as the learning outcome, is that you shall see your business ethics impact on others. So you'll be able to see how business ethics can either negatively or positively impact on others. Thirdly, by the end of this training, we expect that you will now know how to behave ethically in business. And lastly, we expect that you will know how to deal with situations where your values and your ethics are in conflict. Your values and your ethics can be in conflict, and we expect you to have the right judgment by the end of this training program. Now, before we go into the definition of ethics, which my colleague will be able to spearhead, I just want to bring a brief introduction to this topic. In our introduction, let me begin by saying that when you are running a business, a small business, or a medium-sized or large business, the principles in the area of ethics and values are the same. So when you are running that small business, you are going to face certain obstacles, and we need to know how to handle these obstacles. Now, what are some of these obstacles that you may face as you run a small business? The first obstacle could be, and these are not limited to what I'm about to say, but the first obstacle that you may face could be how to handle confidential information. You will be faced with situations where perhaps a customer or your client has certain information that has been revealed to you, and you, as a small business owner, needs to learn how to keep that information confidential. And as we go along in the training, we'll be able to give you these examples. The other thing that you may be faced with as a challenge is the controlling of your behavior with both or towards both internal and external customers. That will be our main focus today. We'll be looking at how you conduct yourself. So when we talk about ethics and values, it has to do with how you are conducting yourself or how you conduct yourself as it relates to both internal and external customers. You will also be faced with the challenge of abiding to the law and legislation in the country. So when we are looking at ethics, we'll be focusing today mostly on your behavior or your conduct towards others, towards other institutions, towards individual customers, both internally and externally. And we'll also be looking at how you are going to adhere to the law of the land. That is very, very important. So our approach today is that as we go through this topic, first of all, we'll begin by defining it. We will define what ethics are. Then afterwards, we will define what values are. We are going to show you examples of bad ethics. It is important that you identify them, that you learn them, and we'll be able to give you real examples of bad ethics, real case studies of certain things that have happened in the past few days, in the past few weeks, in the past few years, which reflect bad ethics. And we'll also look at some of the acceptable standards of ethical behavior. In other words, we'll look at some examples of good ethics. Then we are going to define the values. Values are at personal level. Values can be at business level, family level, community level. They may be derived from your religion, okay, or from the Christian faith. The values are the things that make us to act in a certain way as it relates to ethics. So ethics and values go hand in hand, and these are the things that we are going to be examining today. Well, dear learners, our topic for today is business ethics and values, and my colleague is going to take us through the definitions.
Thank you so much. Well, we are looking at business ethics and values. What are business ethics? Business ethics may be considered to mean acceptable standard of behavior that is expected from a business, an entrepreneur in the conduct of his or her behavior. I have deliberately mentioned the entrepreneur, but because we are talking business. So ethics here are standards which are acceptable standards of behavior that is acceptable in that trading environment. The way you conduct yourself, those are ethics. Business ethics is therefore concerned with your societal expectations about how organizations and individual managers, supervisors, workers, mention them, should behave in their dealing with members of the public. So what we are saying is the public, as they look at you when you are doing your work, they expect you to behave in a certain way. So the ethics here, business ethics, are concerned actually with how you behave yourself in the society. Okay?
All right. So,
Yeah.
in addition to my colleague's definition, so yes, we are saying business ethics may be considered to mean the acceptable standard of behavior. So, meaning that ethics is a code of values which guide our choices in business. They guide the way we act in our businesses. And that is actually very, very important. Ethics can also be determined as or defined as principles or standards of our conduct in our business. So we need to have certain principles, whether we are very small businesses, whether we are formalized, whether we are not yet formalized. When we have a certain standard of how we behave towards our society, towards our business partners, our environment, there is a certain outcome that we will expect from the results that the business that you are in is going to bring. And we are going to look at some of these real examples. So let us really follow, because ethics are something that can actually influence the results of your company. Ethics can determine your success, or they can determine business failure as we apply them. So we need to have a certain standard of how we behave, a certain standard of how we conduct ourselves, so that the perception of our business by society is going to be in the positive. So when we have a positive perception by the society, our business is going to grow. So we are going to look at some of these examples, and we are going to give, to guide you with regard to how we need to go about conducting ourselves in business. So let us look at some of the examples of bad ethics. The first example, and this list that we're going to give you is not limited. That is not an exhaustive list, but we'll give you some of the most common ones, and we'll show you live examples of what is happening in our societies today, so that we can learn from them and we can learn to correct such situations. So firstly, let us look at overpricing. If you have a shop, or you have certain goods that you are selling, you may not have a shop, but you go door to door selling certain goods. Let us learn not to overprice. Overpricing on goods is an example of a bad business ethic. I'm going to give a very real example, Mr. Mtes, of how somebody brought a perfume to me, and that perfume was going at 600 kwacha. Now that person told me that this is a very nice cologne. It's a nice perfume, high standard, because I know that there are certain perfumes when you go into a chemist or a perfume shop, by the price, it will show you the quality of that perfume. There are perfumes which cost more than 2,000 kwacha. Okay, they are original brand names, such as Isemiyake, such as Hugo Boss, such as Calvin Klein, and they are original perfumes, and some of them are imitations. So the price of the perfume in certain authentic shops will show you the quality of that perfume. You will know whether that perfume is real or not. So this person, and that person is actually somebody that I know and somebody that I respect. And they brought this perfume and I bought it at 600 kwacha. But I noticed that the perfume was not as strong when I apply it as it's supposed to be. Because when you buy a perfume for 600 kwacha, you expect that when you just spray a bit, you'll be smelling nicely the whole day, or maybe for the whole week. Yeah. So one day, my wife goes to Lusaka, and as she was doing some shopping around, she went into a certain Indian shop, and she found that those perfumes actually are going for about 80 kwacha. So this person would go to Lusaka, buy these perfumes, Yeah. They are very nicely packaged. They look very nice.
You see?
He bought it at 80 kwacha, or maybe even 60 kwacha, depending on whether he knows an outlet where they sell them at wholesale. And because of the way it is packaged, he comes and sells it to me at 600 kwacha. That is overpricing. And that is not a good ethic. So overcharging on products or services is a bad ethic. Whether those products are in short supply or whether they are in abundance and they look as if they are authentic, let us learn to price our goods in an acceptable way. There is a certain way in which you can add your markup. Markup on a product is determined by, perhaps the cost of how much you procure that product, the cost of transportation, and there are other costs which we may call overheads, overhead costs. Okay, so when we consider those costs, maybe you even have your workers that you have to pay and so forth, and there's a formula that you can use to calculate. So you will find that maybe your markup on that product will not be more than 50%, depending on the logistics and the costs, the cost build up to that product. So overpricing is a bad ethic. When our customers know that we are overpricing, we stand, the chances of us losing business and having our name tarnished are very, very high. So there are many, many examples that we can give in the area of overpricing. Another example I can give is perhaps you are owning a shop, a small hardware shop. Hardware shops sell essential commodities that are required perhaps in constructing a house. So you go to this hardware shop. You want to buy plugs for your house. You want to buy sockets for your house. You want to buy mortise locks, or whatever it is that you need for your house as you are constructing it. Now, I know that a lot of our people who are owning these shops would either go to Tanzania to buy these products, or some of them have an opportunity of importing them from China. Now, it is public knowledge that China is a very huge manufacturing base. It is the world leader today in terms of manufacturing products for export. And those that have gone to China will tell you that China has very huge, very, very huge shopping places where customers would go and buy products for resale when they import them into their countries. And in China, the Chinese themselves would tell you which products are original, which products are grade A, grade B, grade C, and even grade D. So they'll ask you, which one do you want? So we have a tendency, or we have some traders that would actually buy a grade D product, and these products look exactly the same. The only difference is in perhaps the material used, the strength of the material, and the durability of that product. It is a bad ethic to buy a grade D product and then you price it according to the price of grade A. Meaning that if I take it into the local language, there are products that we call original and others which we call gonga. So selling a gonga product at a premium price is overpricing. That is a bad business ethic. Why? Because the price of a commodity should speak volumes. It should determine, or it should give an indication to the person that is buying as to whether that product is authentic or whether it is a gonga product. Sometimes we buy gonga products because we know that the lifespan of this product is short and you are just using it for convenience. So don't price commodities in such a way that we are going to deceive the customer or the buyer. So overpricing is a bad ethic. Let us price our hardware products correctly. Our geysers must be priced correctly, because when you buy a geyser for your house, you want a geyser that is authentic, that is going to last for many years, and a geyser where when you heat your water in that geyser, you are going to have, many family members will bath hot water without the quality of the water being compromised. So overpricing is a bad ethic, and that is supposed to be checked. Let us value our products properly. Let us price them properly so that we can have repeat business from our customers.
Sure. The next bad ethic is selling underweight or poor quality goods. Underweight goods. This is cheating customers by selling goods that weigh less than what is legally prescribed, or goods for poor quality. An example: when you go in the market, those who use meters to measure, is it carpenter, is it beans, mention them, is it groundnuts, you will find at times those who are fond of using bad habits or bad ethics, they tend to manipulate that container, make it smaller by maybe, putting a layer in that meda, so that the volume becomes smaller. Usually they use candle. They will melt that candle and make sure that the volume is reduced. That in itself is a bad habit, because now you are stealing from the customer. Instead of it being a full meda, it will be 3/4 of a meda or even half of the meda, because of that stuff that you have put under there. The others, at one time, this one I even witnessed, the millers. They sell mealie meal at 25 kg. But one time I was moving with inspectors, and they randomly sampled some mealie meal in a shop. They found that mealie meal, instead of it weighing exactly 25 kg, it weighed 20 kg, which means there was 5 kg which was removed from there. This was followed up, and the miller was found not to be at fault, but instead it was the retailer who had a tendency of repackaging. He will buy them from the miller, written 25 kg, but when he reaches at his shop, he opens it up and removes 5 kg from there. That is stealing from your customers. Such is a very bad habit, and it should not be condoned. And you, as a business person, when you are found, because that is theft, apart from your name being messed up, if the inspectors follow it up and find that this is what you have been doing, you may be reported to the authorities, who will arrest you for stealing from customers. So that is one other example of selling, underweight products. Others are actually poor quality of goods. Instead of your bag, which is labeled as breakfast meal, you'll find the product which is there is not breakfast meal. It is maybe, there is this one which they call super roller, but it's labeled breakfast meal, and it is sold at the price of breakfast meal. That is a poor quality good. So indeed, us as business people, let us desist from these poor practices of cheating our customers by selling underweight or bad goods.
Excellent. The example that you have given, sir,
Yes.
about selling underweight mealie meal.
Mm.
I saw that. I think it has been on social media for the past 2-3 weeks.
Okay.
Where there is a picture of this, it's a video actually, of this person who got a bag of mealie meal and put it on a scale. That bag of mealie meal is a 25 kg bag
And labeled.
and labeled. And there is a certain milling company there. But when you look at the weight on the scale, very true, it was 20 kg.
Yes.
So meaning that even some millers are doing that.
Indeed.
That is very unfortunate. Those are bad ethics, and we really need to desist from that. So you can imagine how badly the reputation of that milling company has been dented. It is all over social media.
Yes.
So these, dear learners, are real issues. Let us desist from them if our businesses are going to survive.
Indeed.
Let people say that company or that trader sells authentic goods. Their 25 kg is really 25 kg. And you will see how people will be flocking to your business. Well, let's continue with examples of bad business ethics. The other one, which is a bad example, a bad business ethic, is smuggling. What is smuggling? Smuggling is either illegally bringing goods into the country or illegally taking goods out of the country. This is a bad practice. It's a bad ethic. Why is it a bad ethic? When you smuggle, first of all, that is a criminal activity because it has a negative ripple effect on the country, on the economy. When you bring goods into the country illegally, it simply means that you are not paying the necessary duties that you are supposed to pay at the customs. The country will lose in terms of revenue. And when our services in the country are compromised, we, the same smugglers, will be the first ones to complain. Because when you pay that duty, that is the money that goes into government coffers, and government is able to distribute that money into the various necessary services that are needed in that country. So it is a form of paying tax. So let us desist from smuggling. Now, this is another, we can give examples of this smuggling, real examples. We will not mention names, but we have heard of people that have been smuggling mealie meal out of Zambia into neighboring countries. That is a very bad practice. Let us desist from smuggling. Our government now has permitted the exportation of maize.
Yes.
So all you need to do is when you have a consignment of maize, go to the Ministry of Agriculture. Ask them to say, I need you to help me with information on how I can export maize. And they will direct you to the right offices. You will pay certain fees. They will give you a license, an export permit, and you can be able to export your maize. So government will benefit, your business will also benefit, and you will take your maize through the border in broad daylight without anyone actually, making your life hard because you are exporting legally. Smuggling is temporal. There are people who have smuggled goods into neighboring countries 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, but one day it will backfire. We have seen on TV where truckloads have been impounded. And what they do is when they catch you smuggling, that truck is impounded and is forfeited to the state.